This is in the New York City subway system at 53rd Street and 3rd Avenue. It's where the E and the V train meets the 6 train. There's 2 giant escalators and also a staircase next to it. And in the morning, this is about the worst place to be in New York City. And I was making a commute and had to go through that station one morning, and I decided that I wanted to come up with a way to make it a little bit happier. So here's this project. So I think New Yorkers have an unfair reputation of being cynical.
There we go.
New Yorkers have an unfair reputation of being cynical and negative people, and our experience with a lot of the projects we've done in New York is that people are more than willing to play along and more than willing to have a laugh. And I'd say probably 75% of the people who walked by on that side of that escalator held out their hand and gave a high five that day.
Yeah.
The people on the other escalator were a little bit jealous. And it was just a ton of fun to watch people's reactions as they were giving the high five, to see as they exited the escalator that they had a smile on their face, hopefully a smile that would continue throughout the day. As you see there, Rob gave 2,000 high fives in about 45 minutes. And I also like watching people make the decision, like this woman here. People who look like they're skeptical at first, but then make the decision to give the high five. Thank you. One note about that is we did that in New York City in, I think, February of last year, so 2009, and it was just a couple of weeks before the swine flu outbreak, and swine flu being all the hysteria in the media. So Rob washed his hands before and afterwards. I can say he didn't cause swine flu, but I think maybe we wouldn't have done that project had it been about a month later. People might not have wanted to give a high five to somebody who had high fived thousands of others. I'm going to talk a little bit now about, I'm going to show some examples of advertisers who have done similar things to Improv Everywhere, sometimes too similar, and talk a little bit about some examples that I think have been successful, and first I'll show a couple that I think have been unsuccessful. About a month to 2 months after our Frozen Grand Central project went viral on the internet, a marketing firm or PR firm for Warner Brothers in the UK did a project to announce REM's new album, Accelerate. And they had about 30 people go freeze in place in a public square somewhere in London, and they all were holding REM umbrellas and wearing REM t-shirts. Now, the Frozen project had already been done in London by an independent person who was inspired by our video, and they had 1,000 people freeze in place in Trafalgar Square. So here it is a month later, this company gets 30 people to freeze in place with REM umbrellas, which is inexplicable, adds nothing to the creative concept, is really just inserting their brand into this idea. And then the video even tried to say that the new album was called Accelerate, so therefore they made people decelerate and freeze, was the strained connection to their brand. So, you know, and it didn't do well. There was a backlash on the internet. People blogged about it and complained that they had stolen this idea from Improv Everywhere. There was no attribution whatsoever. Another example is this Dr. Pepper flash mob. Has anybody seen this? No? Okay, yeah, one person has seen it. Well, that makes sense because it only has 50,000 views on YouTube. This was a project done at the New York Stock Exchange, but it's so obviously fake and set up and inauthentic. It happened before the exchange opened. There's just a few traders who were kind of staring at it. No one is surprised. No one is delighted. It's obviously just a marketing stunt. It's people wearing Dr. Pepper t-shirts. Some old dude who I think was a singer from the 60s maybe, who's singing this old Dr. Pepper jingle in a red jacket. and they're kind of clumsily dancing behind him. So it's kind of the watered-down version of what the term flash mob has become, which is just let's get a bunch of people to dance for no particular reason. There's no reason it's at the stock exchange. It's not site-specific. I don't know if you can read the YouTube comments, the highest-rated comments. The first one is, brutal. This is the worst execution of a flash mob ever. And the second one is, flash mobs are officially dead. To talk about projects that I actually like, that I think share something in common with Improv Everywhere, the funtheory.com project from Volkswagen, which I know is nominated for an award this week, I thought was fabulous. You can see it has 12 million views. If you're not familiar with it, the idea was they got people to take the stairs rather than the escalator by turning the stairs into piano keys that actually made music. I thought that was a completely original idea. It was authentic. It wasn't copied from anyone else or derivative of anything else. And it wasn't about Volkswagens. There's no Volkswagen branding within that project. Now, I'm sure if you go to thefuntheory.com, you'll find the Volkswagen branding. But the viral video itself is just about an awesome idea that makes people happy.